Welcome to the Stir It Up podcast, where our purpose is to encourage, challenge, lift up, and stir up the body of Christ to love and good works. Hello, and welcome to the Stir It Up podcast. I'm Michelle Dowdy.
And I'm Starla Harbin.
Well, welcome back this week.
Yes, we're
Good
back
to see
again
you.
in
Back
the Rivercrest
again.
Studios.
That's right. Well, so last week we looked at the Proverbs 31 woman.
Mm-hmm.
That was
So
a
good.
lot to live up to.
Right.
But this week we'll move on to chapter 11. Just a few things of housekeeping. Still not too late to enter our giveaway. So you can email us, stiritup1024@gmail.com. Go ahead and do that, or look for those Facebook posts and you can comment on those. We'll enter you, but we'll do this the next week after we have ended this week.
Yeah.
So, we won't give all our secrets away, but we do tape ahead.
Yeah.
So it's like we're doing this and you won't hear it for a couple of weeks, this particular one, but we'll, the giveaway will be coming. So it's not too late to enter. We also have our store.
Yes.
And last week we told you about some new products that we had in there. So stirritupstore.myshopify.com. Some good things in there that would just be conversation starters and some cute little things for spring.
Good gifts.
Some things for your home or gifts.
Mother's Day.
Yes. Mother's Day is coming up. We may have something special for that as it gets closer. But just wanted to move into now chapter 11 in our study. And this is the final week.
Yeah. I can't believe
So-
we're here.
Yes. Hard to believe that. But so I titled this chapter Right at Home.
Mm-hmm.
So if I say, make yourself right at home, Starla, what do you think of?
I think of, I might take my shoes off.
Yeah.
Mike could go to the fridge and get a drink, or if you got something sweet on the counter, help myself. Or at your house, I'd sit in my favorite chair, maybe.
Yes, Starla has a favorite chair. It's not this chair.
I'm here a lot.
Right.
So,
But, and most of us grew up in homes that were a haven to us, that we could go in and feel right at home. And I think that's probably the goal of most mothers, is that they make their homes places of peace and contentment. Now, I know that for some of those listening, surely, there are people out there who that was not their reality. And,
right.
their homes may have been places of chaos and, the opposite extreme or somewhere in between.
Right.
And even as we look at our houses now, we may look and evaluate and think, okay, this is what I'm trying to do, is make my home a home of peace. Or we may think, oh man, I'm far from that. My house is chaos, or somewhere in between.
Dysfunctional.
Right. But, and we can't change what has been so far in our growing up, or even, what's happened to this point. But the good thing is we can make changes, and we can change from here forward. We can always make from here forward better and more pleasing to the Lord. But contentment in the home, I think, does start with the wife and mother. I feel like, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I think she's sort of that temperature gauge, regulating that temperature in the home.
yes, the heart of the home. And, I think it really is true. That phrase, if mama ain't happy, ain't
nobody happy.
Nobody happy. And it does kind of permeate the whole tone of the household, I think. And, I talk about in this chapter about being overscheduled, being just constantly running from thing to thing and not being at home, not really having enough time at home. I know the Titus 2 model of older women helping the younger women, and it says, to be at home, to be, to love their husbands and their children, and to make that home a place of peace. But, in order to take care of the home, though, you have to be at the home.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed seasons where we've, it's been like going from thing to thing, and you're just like every day you're busy, and then pretty soon that you just like things are all jumbled up, and everything's in a mess and whatnot. Well, like, how did everything get so messy? Well, you have to be at home in order to clean
wash
up,
clothes.
right? To
That's
wash
right.
clothes or to do whatever. But I think, especially with children, they even need time that they, even though you might think, well, they get bored or they'll get into trouble if they're not involved in something. But I think if they're involved in too many things, if every moment is scheduled for them, then as a parent, sometimes you can find yourself just going from thing to thing, shuttling them from one activity to the next, and really being involved in things that just kind of steal everybody's peace.
Right. And growing up, I'm sure it was the same for y'all. Most families that I knew, they all ate dinner at home.
Yes.
Now, we might eat out on Friday night, but the grocery stores weren't open on Sundays. So my mom could not run and get, I forgot this. She did her grocery shopping on Fridays. She got her hair done on Fridays. And, she might have to pick up something on Saturday, but you didn't, the grocery store wasn't open, and everybody after church went home and ate. And my dad, of course, being a pastor, he had this window because a lot of nights he had to go back to church for a meeting.
Yeah.
Or Wednesday night or whatever it was. And so we had this window between 5 and 5:30. We had dinner. And then he was usually back at the church by 6:30 for something. Or whatever it could be. Now, he went to our ball games and things like that too, but that was just sort of the standard. Between 5 and 5:30, dinner was going to be ready.
That was it. Yeah.
And so, we have a lot more opportunities now to eat out and all that, which is nice. I mean, you and I appreciate that too.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you can't exchange that time and that consistency sometimes to just be around the table. Yeah. And I also loved carpool. We carpooled our kids a lot, and that's the times when my kids would talk. A lot of times when we were to and from school or whatever, if I was going to get anything out of them, that's when they would open up, So you kind of have those moments in the busyness.
That's a good point.
That can be, that or they're teachable moments, because the Bible says we're teaching them at all times, in the morning, in the night, when they go to bed, when they wake up, at all times.
Every moment,
but so much. There's just so much chaos, it seems like now. And the home really, it needs to be that haven.
Yeah, and even, I'm in homes a lot, but sometimes there's not even a table. People don't even have a table. Like, they might have an island and some chairs, but like they're not even sitting around a table anymore.
Wow. They're not gathered together.
In some, not in all, obviously, but some, and it seems like a lot of the even feeding issues that I see sometimes are because a child grazes. They come pick up something and they just wander around with it, and then they're not taught to sit and eat. And that, that affects everything, because they have to learn that, that is an important aspect of feeding therapy, is that they learn that it's a social thing too, not just, for nutrition or whatever, but this is a social time as well. And so, that's one of the tenets kind of, is like, nobody eats alone. So, you need to, if you're feeding your child, you let them see you eating and this kind of thing. So yeah, just things are a lot different in that way. Family dynamics are just different, and the things sometimes that were supposed to make things easier have actually probably been more detrimental in some ways.
And even, a lot of nights the husband and wife aren't even in the same place.
Right.
The husband's with the son at this field and the wife's with this child at this field. They're not even in the same vehicle, So it's I understand why it's hard.
Right. Yeah. And I guess, the more children you have, we just each had two, but, I can't imagine if you had 3 or 4 and they're each even involved in one thing. Because sometimes just the one thing can really, and, you want them to be able to have experiences
Sure.
and learn things. I mean, a lot of it's really good for them, learning how to be a part of a team and, have responsibility and whatnot, as they're older. But I think it's, especially when they're little, it's good not to overschedule them, especially
and then
like
they're having a
before high
meltdown
school.
somewhere, and you know, if you just look back through their day or their week, you can understand why they're melting down.
Right. Yes.
You
Just too much
Just too
stimulation
much.
and no time just to just be.
Breathe,
And yeah, because they need a chance to get bored, because that's how they figure out how to be creative,
Play.
how to
Yes.
do how to play and do other
Yes.
things. So just that outside time, that time just to explore and go pick up rocks out of the creek or whatever it is, is just so good.
Well, and I know my grandkids, especially the four, Crosby's four, it's like when they get home from all the things that they've been doing, it's like they sort of scatter and they go to their corners, but it's where they, Jackson's outside and he's doing his thing outside.
Yeah.
Emmy's at her makeup table and she's doing, Addie's doing some craft. But it's like, that's where they just kind of go and, find their way. And you don't worry about them because they're used to that space. They're comfortable in that environment. You know, they probably should worry more about Jackson outside, but he just kind of knows his boundaries and he does what he wants outside.
Yeah, and I don't know if this would be true or not, but I read something the other day that said children need about 2.5 hours after they get home from school to really switch gears and sort of de-stress. And I thought about how many times I was like, when we came in from school, we gotta get that homework done. Like, it has to be done right then, because I would always think, well, if you wait till later, then it's harder.
Yeah.
But that was probably not the right thing to do. Maybe I should have just let it ride till later. But yeah, that's what you're describing. They're going to their own little places, kind of
the things they enjoy. What they enjoy. Or watching a little TV or whatever, but it's just sort of like, they definitely exhale. At home.
So when we don't have that time at home, are we missing something, that peace and serenity that comes from from home life? And so I think when we're involved in outside things, we need to ask ourselves some questions, and they're here in the book. The first one is, do the activities I'm involved in bring me closer to God? It's one thing to volunteer at church. It's another to volunteer at, as a band mom or whatever. And I'm not saying those things are, bad in and of themselves. And you might be called to do that. But it's like, okay, what is your priority going to be? That should be one of your considerations, is like, okay, what is this doing for me spiritually, I know that this was one question that y'all know Erin, my neighbor, helped me on sort of edit some of this. And I think the question I had was, do the things I'm doing or the activities I'm involved in bring me peace? And she said, you could get peace from like transcendental meditation and it be exactly the wrong thing that you should be, or you could perceive that you you could have peace going off and abandoning your children and going to do something for yourself, and then that's not the measure. It's like, okay, do the things I'm involved in bring me that peace that comes from God? I probably should have put it that way, but anyway, she helped me to think through that. But do the activities I'm involved in bring me closer to my family? And in some ways, like if you're a volunteer at something they're involved in, it helps them feel like, okay, you're interested, you're invested. So these are just things to evaluate and think about. Does it bring the family closer together, or are we scattered to the winds, like you were saying? So do the activities I'm involved in make it easier or harder for me to look well to the ways of my household? Am I so scattered and involved in other things that I can't really do what needs to be done at home or give the attention to home, the things at home, the people at home.
Yeah, because the kids and your husband still need clean clothes, and
Right.
they need lunches packed. You got to have some groceries. You got to have dog food. I mean, you still got to.
Right.
And I've been on that spectrum where it was just like, oh my word, I can't. Oh.
And just time for them too to be with them. Like at least if you're volunteering with something that they're involved in, you're with them a little bit. You're like, okay, we're all sort of participating together. But then if you're to the four winds, or you're doing this direction and they're doing something else over here, it's just things to think about, because I think when you're in those child rearing years, you think that's just going to be the rest of your life almost. You think, but it really is true. I've heard it said that the days are long, but the years are short. And they really are. I mean, you realize how it just goes like a snap. So take heart out there, struggling mamas that might be listening.
Right.
It does. It goes quickly, and I think if we take care to think about these principles and be intentional, try to be wise about your decisions about your time and how you build your household, then you're going to have peace. You're going to have peace in your house. And this last one, do the activities I'm involved in help me to be more hospitable to others? Like, do I have time to open my home up? Am I here enough to, fix a meal for somebody and invite people in? So I think for my 2025, that was my goal, was to be more intentional about hospitality. Not really a New Year's resolution, but just to be more intentional about opening my home. So I think I may not have gotten quite as far as I wanted to in that in some ways, but I did. Well, I did make some progress.
You even told me you volunteered it on several. If you need my house, we can do it here.
Well,
so
like
you were very, very open with that.
Yes, that way. So, if the answers to any of those things are no, then it might be time to just reevaluate and make some decisions about things. And like I said, we can't change what has been, but we can change what we do going forward. And it may be for a season, like you're not, you don't do this thing or that thing. If your children need you more in this season or whatever, but then when you come back to an empty nest, or they're they get to the next phase or whatever, then you re-engage again. So
you have to look at, okay, what's pulling me out of balance? What is, with I'm trying to balance the things, and like I said earlier, we don't always get that right, but what could it be that's and then just make the correction as best you can.
Right.
When you can.
And then, we know that the Lord, He's working all things together for our good. And then in that verse 29 that we don't often connect with it, but in order to conform us to His image. So all the things that we experience in life, I mean, that is really the goal, is to conform us to His image. So, He wants to give us, He wants us to abide in Him. He wants to give us that peace. We're all called for a purpose.
Yeah.
Created to know and love the God who made us. So He wants us to be fully alive in Him. So that's the end of chapter 11, and then I ended with final thoughts, which I called the right order.
The right order. The right order. Yes.
So and I just tell about seeing a funny meme the other day it's been more than the other day now. There's been some time ago because it's in the book, but said if I if Chick-fil-A gives me the wrong order, I just assume they know what's best for me and I eat it anyway, because Chick-fil-A is so, for those who may not know, yes, they are very efficient. Yes. I mean, you better have your credit card ready before you turn in, even, I would say. I mean, they are just fast. So it's like if they ever make a mistake, maybe it was for my good, So I was thinking about that, that can we say that? Mm-hmm. Have we gotten to the point where, like what if life hands us something that we never expected, something hard? And I don't mean to minimize, I mean, there are incredibly hard things that people go through. So I don't mean to be flip about this at all. But I think there is, there's a point to be made in, do we have that kind of trust in God that this person in this funny meme had, in Chick-fil-A? Do we have that same kind of trust that the Lord is working all things for our good to conform us to his image? And can we accept our role in whatever that is, the ways that he calls us to submit to those that have authority over us or charge over us? Can we be content in our roles, content in our homes, and can we make our homes places of peace for others, as we submit to those roles? So can we, and I'll just read it from right here. Are we willing to serve our families with a cheerful attitude? Can we accept the age and stage where we are at this moment and look for ways to encourage others? Can we be joyful as we operate under his authority, content with our position and the principles he's given us for godly living? So I pray the answer to all these questions is yes and amen.
Yes. That's good.
Okay. So we hope that you have enjoyed walking through this with us. And I have, if you want to pick up the book, even if you haven't had it so far, and you might want to take a group through it, there's suggestions for group leaders. We've done a couple of things, activity type things, as we've gone along teaching this to women. So, there are ways to facilitate fellowship and,
it's been really good in that setting too. Yeah. And I think we're just getting into the meat of it though, because we're just starting it out. But this past week, there was a lot of content there, and our ladies are receiving it well and really enjoying it.
I think so too. And I think it's, from what some have said, it's made them think deeper about this subject. And instead of just wives submit to your husbands and that's all that's stuck in people's mind, but really how, the husband having that headship, has a greater burden. And so, we don't often hear that. Right. And just so trying to help us have the proper view of all of those roles and relationships. So we just thank you if you have stuck with us and gone through every chapter here. I hope it's been beneficial to you. That's why I wrote it. I hope if there's some young mamas out there, young wives, just hope that this will resonate with you and share it. Just share it. Yeah, so, that's right. But now.
So I have a recipe. And my friend Joy, she's been on the podcast with us, but she makes wonderful chicken enchiladas. And so she had made this for us at Christmas this year. We had a Christmas party there. And so it's chicken enchiladas with sour cream white sauce. So you want to have for your ingredients 10 small soft tortillas. You can use corn also, but I like the flour. 3 tablespoons just all-purpose flour, 2 cups chicken broth, 1 cup sour cream, 2.5 cups shredded or cooked chicken. Some people use rotisserie. She said sometimes she uses the canned chicken from Sam's.
Okay.
But most of the time she boils it, boils and shreds her chicken. But if she needs a shortcut, 3 cups Monterey Jack cheese shredded, 3 tablespoons butter, and a 4-ounce can of diced green chilies. And so what you do is you take your tortillas and you put the chicken inside of them with that Monterey Jack cheese. And that you can also sometimes put a few of the green chilies in there. Now, we're not big green chili fans, and neither are her boys. Okay. So she just doesn't use them at all. And I didn't use them the other day. Yeah. And then, but you can also add other cheeses like a Colby or cheddar.
Yeah, whatever you might have.
You may just want to do some kind of mixture. I like to shred my cheese, and not get it out of the bag because it doesn't have that coating on it that they put. But you can certainly use that as well. Yeah. So then you preheat your oven to 350. Combine the shredded chicken and 1 cup of cheese. Fill the tortilla with the mixture above and roll each one and place them seam side down in your 9x13. So then over on your stove, you're going to melt the butter in a pan and then stir in the flour to the butter and whisk it for about a minute. Add that 2 cups of chicken broth and whisk that together. Cook over the heat until it starts to thicken up. Take it off the heat and add in the sour cream. So that's 1 cup of sour cream there and the chilies if you like that. And you just have to be careful that it's not so hot that it would curdle that sour cream. Yeah. But it mixed really well. And then just pour your mixture over the enchiladas and then top all of that with the remaining cheese. Okay. And then bake it for 20 to 23 minutes. I like a little crispy edge, so I did it just a little bit longer on the tortillas. Yeah, I like that too. She says also you could broil it if you want to broil it a little bit to get that crispy edge, and then just enjoy.
Yeah, and it doesn't stick to the pan.
It did not. Now, I did spray my pan.
You did?
I did. Yeah. I did spray it. Yeah. Yeah. But other than that, and they were really delicious. I've done all kind of chicken enchilada recipes over the years with yellow cream, like Velveeta type sauce and Rotel, all kind of different
I don't like Velveeta
things. Right. Yeah. So this is it's just good.
Yeah. Yeah. And am I remembering right? Didn't she have one with the red sauce too?
She did.
So is that same recipe, you think?
I do not know.
Or you could replace it with red, or maybe just like the red enchilada sauce.
Yeah,
maybe.
It was the red enchilada sauce.
Red, maybe it's the same basic recipe. I don't know.
Yep.
But, well, that's
and one other trick I did was with my shredded chicken, because I had just boiled it, I sprinkled a little taco seasoning on it just to give it a little flavor with that cheese, and just mixed all that together and then stuffed.
Have you ever made your own taco seasoning?
I have not.
I did that the other day because I didn't have a packet and I was doing something that needed it. And so I had all the stuff. It's like cumin and chili pepper and just, all things you probably have on hand anyhow. Right. So I thought, I'm going to start doing this.
Instead of buying the pack.
I guess it's more, probably healthier or has less.
No preservatives or whatever.
Preservatives. So,
I'm making my own creamer.
Oh. Yeah. How are you doing that?
I'll have to share that on a
okay.
We probably don't have time today, but
spill the creamer.
One of the ladies at church got me working on that, so she taught me how to do it.
Okay. Oh, so. I think I remember you saying that. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'll do the sourdough before I attempt the creamer. I'll just let.
Well, thank you for writing Why Submit. Yes. It's been a great study. Proud of you.
Good. Well, thank you. I hope it helps somebody. That's why I write anything, is just to hopefully it helps somebody.
That's right. If it's draw them closer to Jesus.
If it's for 100 people that listen, if it's for 1,000, if it's for one, if it's for one lady out there.
That's right.
That's who it's for. So anyway, well, thank y'all, and we will see you next week on the Stir It Up podcast.
Thank you for joining us today. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all.